Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Warnings out for tonight, this evening, for extreme fire danger here for the Upper Yukon, the Koyukuk and Kobuk Valley areas. That due to extreme fire danger being created by westerly winds that'll kick up to about 25 miles per hour across this area with anywhere from relative humidities dropping anywhere to 20 to 25%. And then by about 10 p.m. the winds will diminish and the humidities will go up and conditions will improve, and these warnings should end by midnight. On to yesterday's satellite imagery. Here's the low pressure area moving across the Gulf of Alaska, pushing a lot of moisture in across the southeast coast, and that's what brought that record 2-inch rainfall to Juneau yesterday, and rain extending all the way down to the Queen Charlottes and back up along the North Gulf Coast, and otherwise a lot of sunshine up over the north central interior. Showers gave way to afternoon sun here across south central Alaska. Mostly sunny day down there at Kodiak Island, and this mass of moisture brought rain into the central Aleutians during the afternoon hours. That shifted eastward today, the bulk of the moisture sliding eastward across the Fox Islands and over the Alaska Peninsula, kind of slipping off to the southeast. A lot of clouds here over the eastern Bering Sea, mid and high level clouds over the top of the lower clouds. There are some areas of light rain showing up this afternoon along the southwest coast, but mostly just clouds out toward the Pribilofs, and then more clouds gathering here to the southwest. That's going to link up with a low here coming across the northern Bering Sea. All this moisture will be streaming northeastward, bringing rain into the eastern Aleutians tonight and linking up with this moisture. So a very wet pattern setting up here for the southwest coast, Alaska Peninsula, Bristol Bay for tonight and tomorrow, and then in across southern Alaska tomorrow night and on Sunday. But today, lots of sunshine here across the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, all of south central Alaska, a lot of sunshine up over the interior as well. Or some scattered showers here, isolated thunderstorms there from the eastern Brooks Range down across the eastern upper Yukon Valley and then back here over the White Mountains, and then some buildups here trailing off to the northwest. The main circulation center now down just west of the Queen Charlotte Island, so that kept the rain and showers going throughout much of the day today over the southern southeast coast while things tapered off back up to the northwest, but not before Juneau picked up another 1 2/3 inches of rain in the last 24 hours. By contrast, Sitka had half an inch of rain. Wrangell picked up about 1/3 of an inch, and Annette, Metlakatla, those areas had about 1/4 of an inch of rain. So definitely heaviest rainfall here right in the Juneau area. And for the chart today, again, most of the showers with that low down over the southern areas, drying out, some sunshine breaking out over the central and northern southeast coast, allowed Juneau to push up to 65 today. Over the eastern interior, scattered isolated thunderstorms breaking out over the Alaska Range, also over the Talkeetna Mountains, some strikes detected, and then from the upper Yukon Valley or the east central interior areas back up to the northwest, thunderstorms across the Koyukuk Valley into the Kobuk Valley as well. Not too much back to the northwest. Low clouds and fog earlier today. Fog giving way to just kind of a general low cloud deck there along the central Arctic coast, eastern Arctic coast, and then kind of back to the west there, but better conditions over the northwest valleys. And then all the clouds here over the southwest interior, Bristol Bay, the rain over the Alaska Peninsula there, that's going to be sliding off to the southeast, and then kind of a gradient here with this low coming into the northern Bering Sea, higher pressure down to the south. That kicked the winds up over the central Aleutians to gusts to 35 miles an hour today. Did get a little bit of sunshine here over the Fox Islands as well as around Atka and Adak, but that's going to be that won't last too long because all that moisture farther to the southwest will be streaming northward. So rain this evening spreading into the central Aleutians, and then as this low continues to drop kind of southeastward there, definitely that'll bring the rain to the Pribilofs tonight or this evening, changing over to showers later. Rain on the increase here along the southwest coast. Periods of rain for the Alaska Peninsula area. Otherwise remaining dry and a lot of clouds here over the southwest interior. Scattered showers up there over the Seward Peninsula, down across St. Lawrence Island. Areas of fog through the Bering Strait. Areas of fog along the eastern and central Arctic coast as well. Otherwise, again, some isolated showers and thunderstorms here over the Susitna Valley, Talkeetna Mountains. Back along the Alaska Range, some scattered showers as well. Otherwise pretty dry and remaining nice here this evening. Light winds across south central Alaska, Prince William Sound. Mostly clear skies with light winds continuing. And still this trough over the southern southeast coast, both at the surface and aloft, keeping it showery there over the southern areas. Just a risk of a shower back to the north with some clearing in between. And then taking a look at the forecast for tomorrow, kind of a couple of waves come up. This wave moves up into about the position of that frontal system, so a lot of rain here across the southwest coast, moving in across the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta areas. Showers increasing across the Kuskokwim Valley and the western Alaska Range with the risk of some thunderstorms as well. Rainfall chances increase here on the west side of Kodiak Island, probably just looking at a general increase, lowering, thickening clouds throughout the day there. Should be dry for most of Kodiak Island tomorrow. And south central Alaska starting out maybe partly sunny, but look for the showers to increase over the Kenai Peninsula and along the Chugach Mountains throughout the day. And then it looks like numerous showers in the forecast for south central Alaska tomorrow afternoon. So for the weekend, tomorrow morning will be the driest part for south central Alaska, because then this will be rolling in, bringing rain in tomorrow night, and periods of rain lasting through Sunday as well. Otherwise, for tomorrow, scattered thunderstorms again over the eastern interior, upper Yukon Valley, 40-mile country, and along the Alaska Range could be some, again, scattered thunderstorms over the Susitna Valley and specifically the Talkeetna Mountains, but just some isolated showers up here over the Brooks Range area. And then still showery over the southern southeast coast, but definitely looking at a drying trend, drier than what you've seen for the last couple of days there. Could be some sunshine again over the northern areas. Still a risk of some isolated showers lingering there over the central southeast coast. Then this low for Sunday will track eastward tomorrow night and then be parked right over the Susitna Valley. The front spreads rain all along the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, into the northern panhandle, periods of rain, possibly as far south as Port Alexander, but staying drier with maybe some sunshine through the afternoon there toward Metlakatla, Ketchikan, Hyder, and those areas. But a lot of showers or rain here back to the west along the Alaska Range into the Kuskokwim Valley areas, but drying out here along the southwest coast for Sunday. Maybe a few sun breaks here over the Yukon Delta areas. Best weather will be up here to the north and west, or at least the most sunshine there over the Brooks Range, northwest valleys. Just some variable cloudiness. Scattered thunderstorms in over the Tanana, upper Yukon Valley areas with showers. Northwest winds 15 to 25 miles per hour. Showers along the Alaska Range, tapering off as you head back toward Cold Bay and Falls Pass, and should be mostly a dry day there over the eastern Aleutians. A lot of low clouds and fog here with IFR, and the forecast is most of the time during the summer in the month of July out over the Bering Sea. And this area's showers will probably drop down into the Pribilofs Sunday night, but high pressure, light winds out over the central and western Aleutians under high pressure. And the Arctic coast, not much change from what you've seen for the last several days. Low clouds and fog, lowest conditions over the central eastern Arctic coast, a little bit better, but still some low clouds finding their way across the north slope and onto that western coastline. But again, pretty dry and mostly sunny here over the northwest interior and the southern north slope. Temperatures this afternoon ranged from where the clouds and rain were in the mid-50s over the southern panhandle to 65 with some sunshine in Juneau, and 61 at Sitka. 58 this afternoon at Yakutat. They had a few showers earlier. 64 in Valdez. Temperatures in the 60s to mid-70s here through Cook Inlet, and into the upper 70s in the Susitna Valley, with Squintina and Talkeetna both reaching 77 by 4 p.m. Bettles also reached 77. Those were the warmest locations in the state today, but then Bettles had a thunderstorm that cooled them off after that. Up to 76 there at Gulkana. In the 70s through the Tanana Valley, the eastern interior, into the mid-70s, both Northway and Eagle at 74. Fort Yukon 73. Lower to mid-70s back through the west central interior with Ambler at 72. 65 today at McGrath, and then up to the north on the eastern Arctic coast there, Dead Horse at 43. Both Anatuvik and Arctic Village are missing today. Barrow had 39 with some cool northeast winds and clouds there, but a little milder, 52 at Point Lay, about the same there at Kotzebue with 54, a warmer 66 degrees here at Noatak, and 51 at Nome, 53 there at Unalakleet, and 55 at Sleepmute, 57. We'll see in the lower to mid 50s here with all the clouds, kind of a uniform temperature pattern over the southwest interior. And out to the west, right around 50 degrees for the Pribilofs, sunshine, Atka 55, not so much sunshine, and 48 at Adak, with 59 at Unalaska. Mostly in the 50s here along the Alaska Peninsula, all the way up into Bristol Bay, Kodiak, sunshine 65 degrees. Lows for tonight, in the 30s, not only along the Arctic coast, but across much of the North Slope as well, dropping into the mid-30s, 40s through the Brooks Range, and then 50s here through the central interior, upper 40s to lower to mid-50s over south central Alaska, lower 50s over the Bristol Bay area, and upper 40s and 50s for the Yukon and Kuskokwim Delta. Lows in the upper 40s to lower 50s across the southeast coast, and 40s out over the Aleutians. Highs for tomorrow. Back into the mid-70s here through the interior valleys, Tanana Valley, Upper Yukon, all the way down into the 40-mile country. Gulkana could push up to 77 tomorrow, and even Sitna Valley may reach 70 degrees again in spite of the increase in the clouds and showers that will be going on throughout the day. Otherwise, 60s here for the southeast coast, a little bit of a warm-up from, especially over the southern areas from what you saw today. 50s out here to the west, upper 40s for the northern Bering Sea. And for flying weather tomorrow, looks like pretty good VFR here through much of the interior forecast, right down into the Gulf of Alaska again. And VFR now for tomorrow afternoon along all of the southeast coast. North Gulf Coast stays VFR for another day, as well as Prince William Sound. And out to the west, look for some marginal VFR again over the eastern North Slope. IFR, at least to start with, over the Arctic coast there, eastern and central Arctic coast, with marginal VFR through the Bering Strait to St. Lawrence Island, and a huge area of marginal VFR with IFR right on its heels here, moving up to the southwest there. This could be kind of an optimistic forecast with the amount of moisture that's flowing northeastward, but definitely at least it'll be marginal VFR, maybe lower here for the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians, and a huge area IFR out over the Aleutian and Bering Sea. And taking a look at the passes for Anatuvik, VFR, both north and south entrances tomorrow. And for Adigan, same forecast, VFR flying conditions. Lake Clark and Merrill, both passes of the Western Alaska Range open. Rainy VFR, chance of a thunderstorm and through the pass there. Windy VFR, chance of a thunderstorm. Isabel, VFR. And Mentasta with risks of thunderstorms in the afternoon. Tanita, VFR. Portage, open VFR on both entrances. Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels, again, about 8,000 feet here over much of mainland Alaska, as well as the Panhandle, maybe down to about 6,000 feet there up over the extreme eastern Arctic coast, but 8,000 feet right out into the Bering Sea, and then kind of a gradient here from 8 to 12,000 feet right across the southern Bering and the Aleutians. Southwest winds following that temperature field is going to push all that moisture right up into the southwest coast later tonight and tomorrow. And from there, taking a look at icing, mostly of the light isolated moderate rime varieties here, up above about 8,000 feet, of course, above the freezing level, and then right up through the Kuskokwim Valley, back down across Bristol Bay, all of the southwest coast and the interior there, and most of the Yukon Delta, and then back across the Alaska Peninsula and the eastern Aleutians, and then no icing farther out to the west. Winds aloft showing the low pressure here, still slowly moving eastward, but again, gradually drying out, but that's going to be close enough to keep the chance of showers in over the southern Panhandle, and then this low slipping eastward toward the Yukon Delta coast, a good southwest jet there on the south side of that, right across the eastern Aleutians into Bristol Bay, and then across Kodiak Island. And at 9,000 feet, low pressure right near Nunivak Island at this level, with northerly winds 25 knots coming down on the west side of that. Southwesterlies at about 20 knots. Westerlies 10 to 20 knots across the interior, and very light winds here across the Panhandle, just 5 knots from the northwest. Up along the Arctic coast, again, just 10 to 15 knots now, but still the strongest winds will be on the western side and maybe on the extreme east side of that low there at southwest of Banks Island, but only 15 knots, and pretty light winds here over the western and central Aleutians, but across the eastern Aleutians, westerlies, west-southwesterlies at about 30 knots. That'll actually extend up across the Alaska Peninsula. 3,000 foot winds, same pattern here, low near Nunivak Island. Strongest winds coming around the south side of that feature, 20 to 30 knots across the southeast Bering Sea, in toward Bristol Bay, pushing all the clouds and rain with it up into the southwest coast, and then that whole thing will be advancing eastward tomorrow night and into Sunday. Otherwise, for tomorrow, light winds over southern Alaska with not much of a discernible direction here, but mostly westerlies through the central interior at 10 to 15 knots, light winds over the Panhandle, and east-northeasterlies on the western Arctic coast at about 20 knots, while the east side there has got westerlies at about the same speed. And turbulence-wise, light to isolated moderate here for the western Arctic coast from about Wainwright to Point Ley, maybe Cape Lisburne, but here more extensive area of turbulence over the Alaska Peninsula, but nothing too serious, just light to isolated moderate for the, again, Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and the Pribilof Islands. And after hangar flying, I'll be back with a look at the ice edge and the marine forecasts.
Good evening, I'm Harry Keeling, and on behalf of Alaska Public Media and the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, welcome to Hangar Flying. In fact, this evening we welcome back our guest, Carrie Long. Carrie is the FAA Regional Administrator for Alaska and has been in the job just over a year. Carrie was raised in New York State, graduated from Colgate, and later from law school at Cornell. Before going off to law school, Carrie served with a service warfare ship with the U.S. Navy. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
What followed were jobs from Wall Street to Washington, D.C. Throughout there was a connection with aviation. In 2007, he became the chief counsel for the FAA and later moved to the NTSB. What still strikes me about Carrie is his incredibly approachable nature, his thoughtful interest in what you have to say, and his heartfelt concern for aviation safety, particularly here in Alaska. Carrie, it's a real pleasure to welcome you back.
Thank you, Harry. Happy to be here.
You've been at the helm here in Alaska for a little over a year. Anything you'd like to share with the audience about your enthusiasm, your observations this first year?
Well, lots. Thanks for saying helm. That takes me back to the Navy days. I appreciate that. It's been a challenging year. It's been a year of some accomplishments. I am humbled by the accidents that we've had recently, and I say what I say only because I think folks need to know that the FAA is an organization with a mission maybe similar to the military in the sense of strength, that mission is aviation safety, and there are an awful lot of people working very hard to keep the flying public, the pilots, safe and keep the villages supplied and so on. So I'll mention some of the things we've done along the way, but I think what looms is the questions I can't answer, which is how can we do better in some of the issues we've been talking about. How do you keep people from doing things that a regulator can't really regulate? Some things that they need to think more about before they do it. Now, you have spoken and written about this so many ways. Your safety seminars talk about them all the time. But in terms of things we've done, I believe we've done our best to help. We've restored, for example, the Ketchikan Harbor Winds Unit, which gives floatplane pilots on the way into Ketchikan the ability to get a measure of the winds south of the airport. So they have what we understand is a critical need for that information in order to make determinations about where and when they land.
And that's operational now? It's
operational now. It was just certified. There are a couple of issues that need ultimately to be resolved for it to continue in place. But it's, there's a required check-in with the flight service station in Ketchikan. I think it's the only one in the nation like that. And they get the information from that Harbor Winds machine now, regularly. So I was glad for that. The weather camera program, which is a favorite of yours and mine, and just about everybody I go see, and particularly the 135 carriers, just love to have the weather cameras on. I have them demonstrate it when I go, and they're proud of the way they can use them. They always have questions about how they can use them better. We always put them in touch with Walter Combs, who's in charge of the weather camera program, who has been known to get a suggestion on the phone in the morning and make changes on his website by the afternoon. They make new cameras. They even have, we have an experiment of sorts that in cooperation with the National Park Service, and you'll have to correct me, the Hoeppner
Hoeppner,
Glacier.
yeah. Right.
Thank you. In Denali, which where we have a seasonal camera with weather information that's on the website because it was requested. I think it was the park folks that wanted it, and we, so far as we can tell, it's a success and is contributing to safety up in that area.
And you had mentioned that where you replace cameras, the cameras you're putting in actually have more light gathering capability and improved optics, or?
Well, remember, I guess when these all started, they're sort of these long boxes and subject to weather issues, to fogging, you know, when it was damp. And Walter's and his people have refined, he's always traipsing up to my office with the latest thing, and there's this little box with a little heat band around it to keep it from fogging up. And what they are constantly doing, I guess like our cell phones, is they have the ability to have the camera function with less light. So what that does is get you more into the twilight towards the evening and more into the twilight at sunrise.
Right.
So he doesn't want to use infrared because it distorts the picture, you see. And the theory is with pilots, you want to see on that camera website what you're going to see when you fly out there. So I think it saves lives weekly, frankly, the go, no-go decision, which I think is so critical.
Absolutely. Carrie, we have run out of time, and before we end the session, I want to make sure I get you back next time, because I want to talk a little bit focused on aviation safety. And I also don't want to pass up the opportunity to thank you on behalf of all of your FAA employees. They're dedicated public servants. They all work together with the aviation interest in the state to make flying safer. So please convey that message to your people on behalf of the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation.
I sure will, Harry. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. Tune in next time. We're going to have Carrie back and talk a little bit about some of the safety concerns this summer. Until then, fly safe.
Welcome back. Well, today's sea ice analysis looked like this, with the sea ice in close to the central and eastern Arctic coast, and then pulling back away as the ice edge kind of off to the west-northwest there, except around this shoal here. And with east-northeast flow expected to continue across the ice edge for the next 4 or 5 days there through Wednesday, looking at a minimal retreat to the north of only 5 to 10 nautical miles for the next 5 days, which means through Wednesday, it's not going to look much different than what you see right here. And for the coastal marine forecast, westerlies 10 to 15 knots here along the coastline, except southwest at 10 for the north coast. Inside waters, northwest 10 knots, seas 2 feet or less, and then Lynn Canal increasing to 25 knots tomorrow afternoon with seas building to 5 feet. And the forecast for Sunday, not much change again. South winds up to 25 knots for northern Lynn Canal. Southerlies through Stevens Passage at 15. Clarence Strait, light southeast winds. A light southwest breeze here on the south coast, but southerlies 20 knots for the central and north coast, with those seas running 5 to 7 feet. And for the North Gulf Coast tomorrow, southerlies on the light side, just 10 knots. Light variable winds for Prince William Sound. And tomorrow afternoon, southerly winds increasing through Cook Inlet up to 20 knots with 5 to 6 foot seas. Southwesterlies here, 20 knots, east side of Kodiak Island and Shelikof Strait. Kind of a westerly wind at 15, lighter than today across the Barren Islands. And then for Sunday, those pick up to about 20 knots. And then we've got small craft advisories showing up here along the east side of Kodiak Island for those west winds, and seas up to 9 feet there. No change for Shelikof Strait. Southwest winds from the 20 knots down to 10 to 15 knots for Sunday. Easterlies at 15 for Prince William Sound, and southerlies at 20 for the North Gulf Coast. And out to the west, starting out at Bristol Bay, southwest winds 20 knots, and those winds continue all the way down the coastline here to Cape Sarachev. And from Sitkinak to Castle Cape, westerlies at 20 knots, and then for the remainder of the Alaska Peninsula here, we've got small craft advisories for southwest winds at 25. And then we got more small craft advisories on Sunday, all except for Bristol Bay, where winds will be westerly at 20 knots. The remainder of the area, west winds 25 knots, seas running 8 to 9 feet. And out in the Aleutians, for the eastern Aleutians, west-southwesterlies 15 to 25 knots tomorrow, with seas running 6 to 9 feet in those areas. Northwest winds across the central Aleutians, light northwest winds, only at 10 knots, so laying down pretty good out there, and light variable winds here for all of the western Aleutians out to Shimia and Attu. Then for Sunday, becoming south, but only kicking up to about 15 knots for the western Aleutians, staying light and variable here for the west central areas. West northwesterlies for the Adak and Atga area up to 15 knots, and west to northwest 15 to 20 knot winds, mostly westerlies at 20 knots there across the Fox Islands with 6 to 7 foot seas. And for the southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island, southwesterlies at 20, to the northeasterlies at 10, northwest 10 for St. Lawrence Island. Small craft advisories there for the Pribilof Islands, and seas up to 9 feet. With the outlook for Sunday, northwesterlies at about 20 knots here for the areas north of Nunivak Island. Small craft advisories south of Nunivak Island there for northwest at 25. Westerly winds for the Pribilofs at 20, right up into the northern Bering Sea. Up along the eastern Arctic coast, for the east central coast there, northerlies at 10, northwest 15 over toward Demarcation Point, and then the central coast northeast at 10, but those pick up to 20 knots again, much like today here for the western Arctic coast down to Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, and south at Cape Thompson there northwest at 15. And then for Sunday, still no change here, northeasterlies at 20 knots on the west side, lighter winds from the north and west at 10 knots on the east side. For tonight, again, watching this low pressure area come across the Bering Sea, it's going to pick up a lot of moisture and stream it northeastward, and link up with the moisture already out here. So periods of rain spreading into the southwest coast tonight, pushes inland tomorrow with increasing showers, isolated thunderstorms over south central Alaska. About the same pattern over the eastern interior, drier for the panhandle, but still a few showers around. And then it looks like rain pushing into the northern panhandle on Sunday. Rain all along the North Gulf Coast, rain tomorrow night, south central Alaska, rain Sunday, changing to showers a little bit, but a lot of shower activity across the Alaska range into the Kuskokwim Valley. Dry and sunnier up to the northwest. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.